Hi everyone, my name is Angie Hernandez and this is my personal literacy presentation. I decided to answer a couple of the prompted questions that best relate to my personal narrative in a video format. My journey in literacy started as an EL student in kindergarten. In California, there's a test called the LPAC, and to be fluent in English, you have to pass the LPAC with a 4. In my district, I was one of the few who passed it fairly quickly, so I entered as an EL in kindergarten and I left also in kindergarten. But over time, literacy became something empowering and personal for me. Growing up, I always dreaded writing anything that had to do with an argument or research, just because I'm not one to go through and find sources and what's reliable and what's not. But writing has helped me express myself. I love to journal and I also love to read. I'm a big reader. And I now see that reading and writing are tools for connection and self-expression, and not just school tasks. The next question I actually really liked and I wanted to address was, where do you come from in a social, cultural, linguistic sense? So I come from a bilingual background. I speak Spanish at home and English pretty much anywhere else. My family values communication and togetherness. I learned to balance both languages because they are a big part of my culture. I currently work in the department of EL, so with the English learners, and I value my job and I love my job, and I also want the students that I'm helping embrace that just because they speak another language as their primary native language, that doesn't make them any less. We have seen studies and cases that because they're classified as EL, they feel like they're less, but I want to help students because that's not true, and it's something very empowering. And being bilingual has taught me to appreciate different ways of expressing my ideas and empowering myself in those ideas. Some of my experiences with language and literacy in school, at home, and my communities are the following. In school, I felt like it was always more structure and grammar based. It always kind of was like, okay, it has to be perfect. Rather than at home, it was more to express or an emotional storytelling / conversation form of an outlet. In my community, I use both English and Spanish as a form of expressing, and I like to talk in Spanish in my community, especially because I'm doing a lot of community-based activities with my after-school program that I work in, and I want students to embrace that side of them and show that it's who they are and they're not scared of it. Some of my personal relationships with reading, writing, and speaking are, I love to read. Over the summer, read about a book a day. I was reading a lot. I have a Kindle and I love to read. I love to write, especially when it's journaling or just personal letters or anything that it's only for me to see. I do love to write about my family. I believe that my parents are the reason that I'm here today, both literally and in any shape and form. Everything I do is for them and to make them proud. And in speaking, I've never been a shy kid. Growing up, I was always confident in my voice, and I think that had to do with having confident parents. They always encouraged me to speak my mind, and I always helped translate whenever I could, so I still do that now, and I've found that it's helped build my confidence because I can speak both languages, English and Spanish. Some things that I remember about learning to read, write, and speak in both English and Spanish are everything at home was primarily in Spanish. But because my older brother went to preschool and he knew English, I was able to pick it up pretty quickly. But most of my experiences happened in Spanish first, and then I transitioned it to English. I never felt shy because I was always pretty good at asking questions, and my parents supported me at home. Even if they didn't know English, they would catch on and they would start using some words in English, and it became like Spanglish. And I've always been very confident in speaking both English and Spanish. My school setting influenced my practices in language at home. I was encouraged to speak Spanish, and at school, because I was an EL, they made sure that I would have every resource I needed possible to ensure that I was fluent in English. Both environments helped me grow as a bilingual learner and communicator, and it taught me that it's okay to blend languages as a form of expression for myself. Some cultural traditions that I grew up with, it's kind of crazy to think back now, but most of the traditions I grew up with are all primarily based here in the US. We didn't really celebrate anything that was celebrated back home from my parents' native country, which is Mexico. So celebrations like Dia de los Muertos, we never celebrated. And I think it's because we began adopting just the form of living here in the US. And my journey has influenced my desire to become a teacher because I want to help students feel confident in not just their writing, but how they vocalize and how they express themselves. As a former EL student, I know that although I wasn't shy, I know that there were classmates of mine who were, and I want to help students to not fear the unknown, but instead grab it with both hands and face it head on. I want students to feel that writing and reading is a form of expression and not fear it because of the mistakes they'll make. Instead, use those mistakes as learning opportunities to grow. I feel that my experiences have helped me feel valued and seen, and I want the same for my future students. I want them to feel capable, seen, and valued in anything that they do or anything that they pursue. Thank you.